So again, this is another angle from which the Khawarij or the Sururiyah come from. And what they say is, look, that the Tafsir of Ibn Abbas and the Tafsir of the ulama of the Salaf, the well-known distinction, that this no longer is valid in the present times. Okay? It's no longer valid in the present times. It's inapplicable to our times. And this is a statement of Ali Tamimi. This is because that in the present times what we find, as they argue, is that there's a wholesale replacement of the Sharee'ah. So this is tabdeel, changing the Sharee'ah of Allah. And this is different. It doesn't come into the understanding of this ayah. And this is a false separation. Why? Because when we look at the statements and the words of the ulama, of the Salaf, we find really that no such distinction is made at all. And really, the meaning of tabdeel is actually exactly the same thing as al-hukmu bighayri ma anzalallah. Why? Because, think about this. If someone doesn't rule by what Allah has revealed, let's say someone says, zina is halal, and khamr is halal. He's done tabdeel, because he said that that khamr is halal, he's made it from the deen of Allah. He's saying that from the deen of Allah, that khamr is halal, so he's made it from the deen of Allah. And as we quoted from Shaykh ul-Islaam, istihlal, that it's to declare that something is not forbidden. Now let's go through some quotations from the Salaf to refute this. And the first of these is from Shaykh ul-Islaam, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, where he explains that when we look at the Sharee'ah, when we understand the Sharee'ah, the word Sharee'ah, or the way it's understood amongst the Muslims, is that the Sharee'ah is of three types. And he gives three names. He said, first of all, the Sharee'ah which is munazzal, meaning the Sharee'ah which is revealed by Allah, which means is the text of the book and the Sunnah. So he says that this part of the Sharee'ah is the book and the Sunnah. Then he says that the Sharee'ah which is the Sharee'ah which is mu'awwal, which means the Sharee'ah which is interpolated or explained. And by this he means, for example, the various schools of thought and the statements and explanations of the ulama, some of which are correct, some of which are incorrect. All of this comes under the definition of Sharee'ah. Then he says the third one, which is Shar Mubaddal, which is the replaced Sharee'ah. And he says, and this is lying against Allah and against His Messenger, or upon the people with a false testimony and its likes, and its clear oppression. So whoever says, indeed, this is from the Sharee'ah of Allah, meaning a particular ruling or law, then he has disbelieved, there being no doubt or dispute in this. Such as the one who says that consuming blood and the dead animal is lawful. So see this definition of tabdeel. What is tabdeel? Replacing the Sharee'ah. It means that whoever says that such and such a thing, rule or law, whatever, is from the Sharee'ah of Allah, whereas in fact it's not. Okay? This is the meaning of tabdeel. And he says that it's permissible to do so. So see this istihlal has to be there. Who claims that this is from the Sharee'ah of Allah. Istihlal is the word used. Okay? Now some of the Sururi argue, oh look, you've taken this explanation of Shaykh ul-Islaam out of context. Why? Because if you even bother to read the Fatawaa, you will find that really he's talking to the Qadi, and he's explaining to the Qadi, look, whichever definition of the Shar of legislation you take and understand, there's no way for you to imprison me, or for you to have an argument against me. Because if you say that the word Sharee'ah means al-Munazzal, what is revealed, the book and the Sunnah, my argument is from the book and the Sunnah, so you can't imprison me. If you argue that the Sharee'ah, the Shar has the meaning of Shar al-Mu'awwal, meaning it's the various sayings of the schools of thought and so on and so forth, then I stick to them, so you can't imprison me. So some of the Sururiya argue that you've misquoted this explanation of Shaykh ul-Islam, and you haven't understood what it's really about. And the reply to this and the refutation of this is that who better is there to explain the fatwa and the explanations of Shaykh ul-Islam, except for Ibn al-Qayyim, his most, one of his excelling students. So Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he says, this is right to the very end of his book, Kitab al-Ruh, page 655. He mentions the various types of rule, Aqsam al-Hukm, and then he says that the Hukm al-Munazzal, as Ibn Taymiyyah explained, he says that this is the ruling of the Sharee'ah, meaning the texts of the Sharee'ah, He says, وَالْحُكْمَ الْمُؤَوَّلِ, as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, which means the various rulings and statements of the A'imma and the Mujtahideen. And then he says, وَأَمَّا الْحُكْمَ الْمُبَدَّل, as for the hukm which is replaced, changed, وَهُوَ الْحُكْمُ بِغَيْرِ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. So see that. And this is but ruling by other than what Allah has revealed. So see how he's equated al-Mubaddal, at-Tabdeel, this is but ruling by other than what Allah has revealed. The same thing. Someone who does Tabdeel of the Sharee'ah, who replaces the Sharee'ah, what does he do? He rules by other than what Allah has revealed. He doesn't say, I will not rule by this and sit and do nothing. He rules by something else. So ruling by other than what Allah has revealed is itself Tabdeel. There's no distinction whatsoever. This is very clear from the statement of Shaykh ul-Islaam Ibn Taymiyyah, and very clear with the statement of Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. And then he says, continues, it's not permissible to implement this nor act upon it, and nor is it permissible to follow it. Rather, the person who is guilty of it is between kufr and fisk and dhulm. So now look here, right at the very end, this is very important. He says the person guilty of this is between kufr and dhulm and fisk. Which means what? It goes back to the distinction which the Salaf make, that kufr is of two types, and the ruling by other than what Allah has revealed is of two types of kufr, major and the minor. And the one who does it out of i'tiqad is a kaafir, and the one who doesn't, then he's either a dhalim or a fasik, which is what Ibn al-Qayyim has mentioned here. So he says that the ruling upon the tabdeel, ruling by other than what Allah has revealed, is either he's a kaafir, or either he's dhalim, or either he's fasik, depending on the condition of the individual. And we go back to the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim right at the very beginning, that which he is depends on his state and condition. So see how this tabdeel, there's no proof for the sururiyya in that at all. Rather, this manifestation always goes back upon the same principle.